please. This is a joint continued meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Poinciana CDD and the Poinciana West CDD. It is January 31st, 2017. We're in the Starlight Ballroom on Village Drive. First item on our agenda is a roll call. Bob Zimbardi is here. For Poinciana CDD, I'm sorry. Bob Zimbardi is here. Skip Stelfox.
Present.
Dick Kellogg. Present. Leah Epstein.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Yeah, call to order for the Poinciana West CDD. Supervisor Brown.
Present.
Supervisor Rosenberg.
Present.
Supervisor Bento here. Supervisor Case is here. We also have a quorum. And can we all please rise for the pledge to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next item on our agenda is audience comments related to the items on the agenda. If you have a comment, please come to the podium, state your name.
Cook, 201 Argo Drive.
Louder, Mr. Cook.
I sent an email out to each of you, I guess a couple of days after the last meeting, with basically 2 questions on it. And only 2 of you even were courteous enough to reply. In that, I asked or volunteered that I meet you in person. I talked to you on the phone, or you could answer by email. The 2 that did reply said that I should come to this meeting, that they weren't going to answer anything on the email. And I remember that discussion at the last meeting, but I didn't know that you can no longer communicate with the residents except at this meeting. So I guess these meetings are going to really last a long time. I would like the answer of those 2 questions from each one of you, so I can know what kind of thought process you went through when you were representing me and you making these decisions.
What's the question again?
You don't have my email?
Well, I have your email, Bill Brown, and quite frankly, I called you, the number you had, I won't give the whole number out, it was 863-437. It was 437 on the email, and I figured, I worked for the phone company for years, I know exchanges, so I figured it was an error, I figured it was a 427.
All right.
I went so far as to call the 427 number. I got a message, a generic message, not saying who it was, so I didn't say anything.
Okay. Then that was my error. So you had the email though, so you know what the questions were, and you guys weren't going to answer them until you got here anyhow, so I'd like my answers.
The audience would appreciate the question also.
Well, I left some copies back there, but I'll be glad to read the whole thing. I thought I only had, a couple of minutes up here. I'm sure when you made your decision on the purchase, that you went through some kind of financial analysis to determine what you thought was a fair price. I would like to know what kind of analysis you went through and how you came up with the price you did. But I'd also like to know what price you set as your walk-away price. That if AB Homes didn't accept it, you would say, well, you want too much, I'm leaving. I mean, that's one of the first things you do when you get ready to negotiate is you know what your value is and you know what you're willing to go to. I know AB Homes has threatened to walk away a couple of times out of this deal. Have you guys ever negotiated hard with them? Have you ever said you're going to walk away? It seems like that they're the only ones that's controlling anything here. Okay. I guess so. Let's go back to first is how did you come up with the evaluations that each of you decided was a fair value?
Sir, I would encourage you to look at the EFG reports that were done.
I know about the EFG reports, but that's not really a value of an asset to a third party that expects to make a profit on their investment.
I I was trying to answer your question and you cut me off, and so
I'm sorry.
I'll refrain from answering further.
Right, I was actually, my question was addressed to the supervisor.
That is the process we went through. We contracted with EFG to do an evaluation, and that's what they came up with.
And that evaluation was based on
It's a business valuation.
the income, that the fees that you're gaining each month. This is the maximum bond amount that you can get for it, therefore, that's what the assets are worth? No, it wasn't?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I don't know that we want to get into a big argument here today. There are going to be people.
I don't want to argue, I just want to know the analysis. If that's the only analysis you went through, then that's my answer, right?
Just a minute, Mike. In March of 2016, at the meeting under the tent in Freedom Park,
All right,
it was determined that we were going to take the business income approach to do the valuation on the amenities. We also have put together a due diligence which addresses a lot of the questions. So when it came to what the valuation is, Mr. Cook, the valuation is going to be the result of the due diligence plus the business income approach. When you're talking about, or when you refer to a top value, there's really a number that, and that is $85 a month times all of the units, because that's the cost of the amenities. That's what we pay. Now, you're on Largo, so you may be paying,
I understand.
you may be paying $35 a month. I don't know what these numbers are, because I personally don't necessarily totally understand how the different dollar values were reached. But I'll tell you that we did not have a number in mind, Mr. Cook. This is all, we're still looking at the number. Now, as far as AV Homes saying we'll walk away, I was in business long enough and did due diligence that there's a lot of rhetoric that goes on. And we still don't know if the purchase is going to go through. There's a lot of things that could go south. All I know is that the valuation for me is not, I shouldn't say is not, it is a business income approach, okay? I know that the dollar amounts that are in the EFG report follow pretty much in line with what I calculated about 7 or 8 months ago as what I feel would be a fair and honest valuation to write the bond. So I'm in total agreement with the EFG report. Okay, will it get tweaked? It probably will, because we've got to do some more talking. Right?
So you feel a third party would come in and pay that amount for the amenities? I guess that was my second question, was why did you guys all vote unanimously that you didn't want to find out what a third party estimate of, value to a third party investor who would obviously be wanting to make a profit, so they wouldn't like max out their financing ability just so they could get back, $85 a month?
From my point of view, I'm satisfied with the valuation in the EFG report, and for my purposes, I don't really see the benefit of going through a third party.
You think that report represents? You think that report represents what a third party would pay?
I can't, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'd just say, members of the board, my initial advice a year ago was that it is an audience comment section. The board was not comfortable with that and wanted us to engage in trying to answer some questions if they could be quickly answered. Now we're getting into a point where we have the forum being used for a deposition. And quite frankly, you can continue to do that practice, but you do it at your peril. I don't think there's anything you're going to say that's going to satisfy some people's concerns, and that's okay. Okay, that's okay. But your obligation under the law is to receive the comments and take them under advisement. Anything else you want to do beyond that, you're making the choice to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so since you
I'd like to
answered
add
this
just
question-
one thing. The only thing, I agree with Mr. Kellogg, that the way we did evaluate. The other thing that I think we all weighed in on is, this was the only way we were going to get any additional amenities. That third party coming in, whoever he would pay, is not going to build anything. So that was.
For the residents maintain control. Absolutely.
That was my main driver, I think, and I think a lot of other people, because that was the only way we were going to get these additional assets, and we need them with the growth. So,
Okay, I just had a couple comments, won't take but a second. If there are not any more questions, because.
I think you used up 3 minutes a long time ago, Mr. Cook.
So I can't make any comments?
You have
You
made
already have.
comments.
Oh, well, that's the reason I started out and said I was going to let you answer after I make my comments, but you wanted me to go ahead and ask the questions out loud. Okay.
You have another comment?
Yes.
Is it clearly?
Oh, it's pretty quick. I felt offended the last 2 meetings when some of these supervisors criticized the residents, because the residents were making comments that they didn't like and they didn't appreciate. And the only reason the residents are doing that is because you guys are operating in secrecy. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how you're making your decisions. All right, it's just like right now, y'all voted, and I don't know why you need to replace that board. Y'all vote unanimously anyhow.
Second.
I had more, but I don't want to go too long.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Cook. Are there any other audience comments?
We can't hear you.
Switch has to be up.
Ben?
Yes.
Hank Barron, Barcelona Drive.
I'm sorry, can you get your name?
Hank Barron, Barcelona Drive. Your board stated that you use the business income approach in determining the valuation. My question is, what multiple was applied to that business income?
I don't understand the question, but
You stated that a business income approach was utilized to arrive at a valuation. My question is, what multiple did you apply to the business income?
Yeah, I think we would need to refer to the EFG report. I mean, have you analyzed that report?
Well, my follow-up on my question is, any body or organization that's either making the initial thing or approving of it by EFG has to know what multiple was applied or to make an intelligent decision whether that's correct or
It's in the
flawed.
report. The multiplier is in the report.
What is it?
I think it was $81 and some cents a month.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the report. And again, I mean, if you guys want to get into, basically anyone can ask any question, however technical, without us having the information in front of us. If you guys want to allow that, you can allow that. But I think it's a mistake.
I agree.
I want to point out for the audience that no organization can make an evaluation of a business using a business income and not applying a multiple to it. That's the first, foremost, and most essential element of it. And for a board or party not to know that off the top of their heads, I think is remiss. Thank you.
Okay, are there any audience comments? Okay, there being none, we'll move on to item number 4, approval of the amendment to the agenda to add consideration of agreement with subordinate bondholder, et cetera.
Yeah, there's actually, we can dispense with that because we did not get the final version of that document. MBS is still talking to the bondholder about the form of that. We have something which we thought was fairly close, but we didn't want to put something before the board until the bondholder had signed off on it. And again, just by way of background, the Poinciana CDD has senior and subordinate bonds that are outstanding, and the subordinate bondholder has the right to consent to any additional bond issuance by the Poinciana CDD because another bond issuance could negatively affect their position in terms of a default. And so that's why you have to get their consent. I think the terms of that have been worked out, but I don't have the final form of the agreement. I do want to ask the board to consider the second half of item number 4, which is consideration of proposal from EFG to perform additional services, and I will be glad to describe that when we get to that agenda item. But I would like a motion to amend the agenda to include that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And I assume no objection from Poinciana West since this is a
No.
joint meeting.
You're prime on this. That's okay. We reserve wisdom, you object.
Okay. Did you want to address the second part of that?
Well, I think that now we move on to, I think that we have the EFG, yeah, we've got the EFG report under 5C triple I, so let's go on to 5A.
Okay. All right. The first item there is consideration of proposal from Delta for reinspection of the facilities.
Okay, I'll take that one. I had emailed to the supervisors yesterday and then provided a copy in front of you. There's 3 documents here. The last sheet, sorry for not putting this in the correct order, is the proposal from addendum, or from Delta. It's the addendum to the contract to provide a reinspection. That fee is $21,500. Now, let me give you a couple other options here. I know there was some concern with Delta and the inspection process. If you recall, a few months ago, we went through a qualified bidder process and decided that Delta was the most qualified. We had 2 or 3 others that we talked to at that time. I haven't spoken to them yet. I could go and talk to them about also coming in and doing a reinspection of the Delta report. That may be a little different than cost than what we're seeing from Delta, because essentially they'd be starting over. The other thing that we're doing, and I don't have any quotes back yet, but it's also to talk to roofing contractors. There's really not another specialty or certification that you can get from a building inspector in terms of roofing. Delta is very qualified. You can't see everything that's hidden between a roof and the ceiling. It's just not a possibility. So we had some trouble getting actually a number to do inspections from roofers. We're still working at it. They operate in the contractor world, so it's a little more difficult to get that from them. They, as a roofer, are actually looking for deficiencies to fix. So it would also be the information we get back from them may be skewed one way or another. So we have a little bit of time on this work. AV, who, as I understand it, is still doing some repairs. I believe it's going to go through the month of February. So we could entertain other opportunities if we need to. But I wanted to present this to you. I think Delta is very qualified. They've got the most experience now on site and can pretty efficiently get through the rest of the property. So I'll leave that for you for discussion.
Are you saying that we're not going to be doing an additional roofing inspection, or that you want Delta to do it?
Well, the proposal that you have in front of you is for Delta to reinspect all the facilities that they did, go through the documentation that AV has provided in that report for all the deficiencies, and confirm the repairs. So essentially, it's a reinspection of all the facilities with the repairs that AV has put in place. And those repairs are still ongoing. Tony, you may be able to confirm, I think by the end of February is when we're talking that they would probably be done, unless there's more information.
Right, yeah, that's correct.
So end of February. So in timing for a reinspection to happen, we'd be looking probably starting March 1.
Yes, just to confirm, ELM has been supervising that with their staff. They've gone through the report, and the plan was to take that entire book that they had completed and photograph alongside the deficiency photograph and show the repair that was done. Now, what they've done also with the roofer is ask them to go back in everywhere there was any type of crack and that happens sometimes when people walk on the tiles, to take a photograph of the repair area as well. So I believe, Sherry, that's been done, and they've been at this continuously, for the last 2 months, 3 months, because they're minor areas that they've been working on. So where does that stand right now? I believe it's near the end of the.
We can put the update on today onto the Solar CDD.
Right.
We'll have
So some of that work from Delta's perspective, they can go back to the book and start looking at that, some of that information early on online and reference it, so when they come out, they can hit the streets running and know what's being done really. So again, we thought that was the best approach to take to demonstrate those deficiencies have been completed. So, you know, and in reference, you know, I guess to the roof, I mean, I know, Ms. Epstein, your comment about last time about exposure to the roof and what happened with that, but there was a pipe that had burst and had broken apart, and it was some repairs that were done several years ago. And it's truly an anomaly, but I don't think there's anything from a structural standpoint. Again, you know, that's something Delta can attest to and go through, you know, on the roofing standpoint. But again, that's definitely an anomaly that happened, that there was a pipe that burst, and it wasn't the roof that collapsed or anything. And those kind of calamities, if something does happen like that, those are normally associated with a natural disaster or something that you would see where you have a hurricane or something.
So did we determine why that pipe burst? Do we have any?
Yeah, what happened and again, I was here when it happened. We originally had that second floor design for Discovery Day units in the second floor in arts and crafts. Okay, and those were designed to have individual rooms, hotel rooms that were set up. And we went back in probably 5 years after because the decision was made not to use them and to develop them for meeting rooms. And they went up and where the pipes were, that were servicing some of those individual rooms, and they basically, you know, put a cap on it. Okay, and as I understand it, Sherry can confirm this, but one of the caps actually came off, right?
Well, the cap is still on, and that's one of the things we all
Yeah.
noticed when it came down. The
Yeah.
pipe was capped off, and it seemed that because of that
But again,
cap,
it was from a repair, so I mean, if there's one area that would need to be, I mean, in the inspection report, once again, you can go up, I mean, anybody can go up inside, you know, the space between the acoustic ceiling and it's all visible. I mean, we have inspections done all the time on that, but again, you can go up and inspect the pipes. But, you know, in the construction industry, stuff happens like that where even on plastic pipes, you could put cement on a plastic pipe. You think there's enough cement on that, and years later, you know, it comes off. It's routine stuff, but again, I don't think it's anything to do with workmanship. It's been satisfactory, inspected properly, and so forth and so forth.
Somebody, Bill Brown,
Yes, Bill.
going forward, like, assuming we do buy the amenities, like you say, things do happen. There are
Right.
inspections, and like even when you sell a home, you have people inspect it, and then homeowner comes in later and finds things like the punch list.
Right.
Will we have that capability to have a punch list type of thing?
I mean, it wasn't envisioned, it was, you know, something to work on, you know, those things, because there is a staff of people, you know, there's an electrician, you look at the staff that's set up with ELM, there's an electrician, there's a carpenter, they're very, there's craftsmen that are on board with ELM, they do things every day for the facility, you know, that's the normal course of maintaining a property. It's not like you have to bring anybody in special to do that, so.
But I guess my concern would be if repair rose to a certain level, you know,
Yeah.
capital level or something like
Yeah,
that.
and again, I think that's something even from a visual standpoint that as a company, we're not going anywhere. So we have 1,400 homes, you know, you have to sell in this community. You know, we have a commitment on the operation and maintenance that we're going to be providing, as well as the debt assessment. So we're partners in this together. I mean, it's not like, guys, it's yours, bye, see you. I mean, Tony's here, Jerry's here, the team is here, L&M is here, and, you know, we're prepared. If something like that happens, we'll sit down and talk, because we don't want any negative relationship. I mean, it's never been adversarial. I mean, it's always been positive, and we want to keep it that way. And that's,
Well, if I could add, Mr. Brown, the report that Delta did, if you recall, we all got our workout carrying that thing around. It was,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
several hundred pages thick, with photos, and that's exactly the repairs that are happening right now that we want
Exactly,
Delta
yeah.
to go back and confirm. there is general maintenance every day.
Exactly.
And that part I'm comfortable is happening. What I do want to make sure is that the deficiencies that Delta found, we're confirming are rectified. And-
Yes, absolutely, right.
I have a question regarding that. Was there any objection by AV Homes that a deficiency highlighted by Delta was not a deficiency or did not meet a certain code or anything like that? Or was it all accepted and it's all going to be?
I don't have a final report back from.
I thought the one thing was the erratic roof lines, the erratic tile lines.
I'm not changing those. We
That's
spent lots of
one
money
of the
to
things
do
that
that.
they listed as a
Yeah.
deficiency.
There were design or operational issues like that Delta wasn't aware of. I mean, that's a specific architectural thing.
Right.
That's not what I was referring
And I can refer to the meeting minutes when that was done with the architect out of Arizona.
I think,
Is that repair, the repair I assume is done on that pipe? Do we know what the cost of that repair was?
It was done in-house.
We did in-house.
It was in-house, it wasn't, yeah.
And it was complete before I could get down here to see
Right.
what had happened. So other than the photos, I can't do any more forensic on it.
Would it be appropriate that at some point in time, Tony and Sherry, that you give us a status report on the completion of those repairs so that we know exactly?
Right, well, she's been uploading it to the, it's on the,
And we just did another one, so it will be on there by this afternoon. So
Okay.
we
Well,
just did it.
And why?
yeah, there's a whole team that's been working on this to make sure it's being done correctly.
Microphone.
We've been
By there, do
coordinating.
you mean Solvita Strong, the Poinciana CDD, the Solvita HOA?
So we did
website?
Rex CDD.
So we need a rec CD.
And I will provide that to you guys also, so you have that. But everybody received a sign-in on that.
I don't have one.
By the end of the day, you will.
Sherry will personally come over and make sure everybody gets on there so you can see it, and
And we have been coordinating with AV and the Evergreen
Exactly.
team on the repairs, but quite honestly, we want to wait till they're finished. I don't want to do this
Understood.
piecemeal, so that's why the target date has been end of February to get back at this effort. We've checked in and just, and then some coordination on the timing. That's been the extent of it.
yeah, that's very true. We've been communicating with Kathy to make sure that she's applies to where we are in the status and work progressive. Thank you.
Kathy, one question, just to clarify, I think you were indicating you might be able to get a couple additional prices. Is that where you were going with your comments there with other vendors?
I wanted to give you options.
I'd like to see
Certainly
some
could get
options.
other prices. I can almost guarantee there will be more since that other firm wouldn't have done the initial work. So I think, it's essentially you're looking at a reinspection and then, again, that's going to raise the fee.
Yeah, and I know Kathy went through the diligence in the RFP, but, Delta is one of the well-respected inspectors, commercial inspectors in the state of Florida. I understand, and I heard that from Mr. Carmichael, as mentioned, because he had seen some of the work in the past.
Thank you, Mr.
Just to give the board kind of a feel for what, pricing we might be talking about, we did talk to one of the inspectors, CDC, who we had gotten a quote from before. We're actually trying to get just some feedback on looking at the building across the street and what might have happened. Their fee for just one building was a couple $1,000s, so you take that times, 17 facilities, and we're back up at the same number for an initial inspection again.
It seems foolish to change, to go with somebody else at this point. I mean, the report that they put together was quite comprehensive. And I think we ought to have the same people come in here and check and see that the deficiencies were made up.
I would agree. I think we should stick with the contractor. I think their initial report was very extensive.
Do we need the motion on this now, or,
no, I think it
can
would
we
be,
wait until the next meeting? So, or,
if you want to wait, you can.
well, I don't know, does the board want additional input from other contractors, yes or no? I guess is what I'm asking. No.
No.
Kathy seems to be indicating
And I
that
guess-
the Delta is pretty reasonable to begin with. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, for a reinspection of their report, yes.
Okay.
All right.
There were,
Kathy, you're the one that's gonna be giving the feedback and to say everything is complete, right?
Yeah, what their product will be, and it's written here, is basically the report back with another picture of the corrected action and confirming
We're
the
gonna get a vote like this again.
It's gonna be really long this time, because it's gonna have the original, the repair, and the final. You know, there's gonna be 3 pieces to this, so it will be a real workout.
Can we save trees and just give it on jump drives?
No, I need to hear from Mr. Eckert. Who's tried multiple times.
let's slow down a little bit. There were a couple of things that were discussed that I want to make sure the board is very clear on. There are probably going to be some things that were in the Delta report, like the roof tiles that AV initially said they thought they didn't understand. For instance, the parking lot. I think that the Delta report assumed that the parking lot was constructed in a certain way, and I think AV had said, no, it's not constructed that way. It's supposed to have these characteristics. So we're going to have some of those issues. But we'll work those out, you know, when we get there to figure out, are they really an issue? Is there a dispute? Is there not? The second thing that I want to make sure the board is clear on, and I have no reason to believe that AV won't be here or will wash their hands of everything, but the contract is set up right now putting the burden on the district to do adequate inspections of the facilities. AV has agreed to advance the cost of those inspections to the district, and if the district decides they don't want to go through the transaction, there's no obligation to pay AV back. But in exchange for them advancing the cost, the contract is written in that you'll get the buildings in their as-is condition. So it's incumbent upon the boards to make sure that they do adequate inspections, because there is no requirement of a warranty in the contract as it's written today.
That's the reason why I'm concerned about the roofs, because when we look at our reserve fund, the shortfall in 9 years is because of the repair of the roofs. Gives us 9 years to build some of that money in the reserve fund, but even with the money that we're building, we're still gonna be $500,000 short. So if those roofs are needing repair, that kind of repair or replacement earlier than 9 years, we are gonna be even further with that. So I think we need to know, especially since we're taking them as is, that those roofs are really gonna last that extra 9 years, if not longer.
And so the Delta reinspection, I think you need to do anyway. I mean, they did the initial report, they're gonna say, yeah, it was fixed. The question I think before the board is, do you want Kathy to try to get additional proposals for roof inspections by someone else so that you have a second opinion on that issue? That to me is the thing that you need to know to be able to move forward.
I think it'd be a prudent thing to do. I really do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
It definitely is a costly item.
Okay, we'll continue in that path then. It's really looking at roofing contractors to come out and essentially do a peer review of the work that's been done from a contracting standpoint by
Now,
AV.
Peterson has been doing a lot in this community, and they one of the ones that you're going to talk to.
What was the name?
Peterson.
No, I
They're
don't
the
know.
ones that have done almost.
Peterson Dean?
Peterson Dean.
That's who,
They
yeah, that's
have
who we're
done.
using.
Pardon?
That's who we're using right now for the repairs.
Okay, but I'm talking about the cost estimate on, that we've just been talking about, not necessarily.
I don't believe we contacted Peterson yet. It was a couple other companies that we, again, haven't gotten numbers from. We're trying to figure out how we could actually craft a scope for them, but we,
Well, if Peterson is doing the repairs, it'd be good to have a second eye from somebody else.
I heard they did a lot of roofing for AV homes in the past.
You know what you may want to do, just a thought, is that the roof repairs on the homes, the ones that have tile roofs, there's more than one tile roofing company that has submitted proposals to Dottie for the architecture review request. You may want to ask Dottie, or you may want to ask Dottie, what companies have been used, because I know that, I think there was one roofing replacement that was in the $70,000 range. I mean, it was, I just thought, you know, I couldn't believe it, but it was almost a 4,000 square foot roof when we had the garage and everything to it. But Dottie should have the names of those roofing contractors.
okay, we'll work on that.
So I think the question before the board is, do you want to approve the proposal from Delta for reinspection of the facilities? And if you want to do that now, I would suggest you make it subject to confirmation that there's either funding under the existing funding agreement with the developer, or that we bring back an amendment to you to cover that. And that will be the same for any inspection proposal that you receive today.
Why do we need an amendment to funding agreement?
Because the funding agreement was not open-ended, and there's been significant funds expended to date, and we need to make sure that there's adequate funding unless the boards want to take this responsibility of paying for it
No,
on
I
your
just
own.
didn't know how close we were to the top number.
I would say within the next month, we will be very close.
Okay?
Is the Delta quote, is that a not to exceed?
They've listed it as lump sum, so I believe that's the case.
Oh, okay. Lump sum, but it's not to exceed the lump sums, I don't know what that means. That means it can't be less.
I'll restate it with them, so it's,
That's right.
Yeah.
so that it's not to exceed.
Yeah.
I'm also going to revise their report date, because it was a little iffy when I solicited the quote from them of when they would start. So we'll nail those dates down, give them about a 30-day window to start to finish.
I would suggest then you could go ahead and defer it to February.
For February?
Yeah, they're not going to be employed before then in terms of
Right.
going out in the field.
That's February. Okay, so we'll defer this Delta agreement till February meeting. And the other one?
Okay, the next item under 5DI is a discussion of the termite inspections. If you recall, last month we brought to you the wood destroying organism certification by Massey. I didn't provide a copy in there, but I think that fee was about $2,500. It was requested that we go out and get 2 other quotes of those that may not be currently working on property for AV. Same information, the format of these quotes is a little rough. Again, we're working with people that don't typically enter into contracts of this scale or with an organization like this. But just, I think what's important here is the cost, and then we can work out the terms with them. So Sunrise, which does a lot of work with the homeowner side, was recommended to us at the last meeting. Their quote is the first sheet you have in front of you for $3,250. And then a second one was Florida Pest, and we need to get them to write it up in a proposal format. But their cost was $3,600. I think there was some value because Massey's already on site, so theirs was almost $1,000 less. They were familiar with the properties. These 2 are not as familiar with our amenities. So that's, I think, probably the difference that you see in the fee. Again, we're getting a certification from them that's industry standard, so I don't see that there's a lot of discrepancy in any of them. It's just what the board's most comfortable with.
And with the certification, if it turns out that termites show up afterwards, does that certification protect us in any way?
I'm not sure how that's exactly written.
Have you ever read the termite law?
Exactly, that's why I'm asking the question. Most cases, the word, it doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about now is the inspection. You're not talking about a bond or a warranty. That was the other item. Yeah, the other item that I think you brought up, and it was around $11,000 or something like
Right.
that. So this is different. This is just the inspection.
Yeah, the other item Mike was referring to was actually the treatment services
Right.
for going forward on those facilities was the $11,000 roughly.
Did you say, Kathy, that Massey is not treating the amenities at this point?
They are not treating them for termites. They are treating for pest control, but not termite, which is a special service.
Did they provide a bid?
They did. I had it in the last agenda. I'm sorry I didn't provide a copy today. I think it was $2,500.
I'm just curious why AV Homes did not deem it necessary to have termite protection. Have you ever asked them that question?
I have not.
I believe that my home was built in 2006, and there was termite protection. The installation of in the homes of the pad there was termite protection done, and there was also a plastic layer that was laid down prior to the pouring of the pad. And I believe that that has been changed to going up about, 2 feet along the footings all the way around the perimeter of the home. So that's been changed, and I don't know, do you have any idea, Tony, has there been any difference in the quality? Has there been termite issues on newer homes versus older homes?
No, not that I'm aware.
Okay,
No, and I just want to speak just in general. When I showed up 5 years ago, John Corners, I asked the same thing. We had termite coverage facilities. I'm on it. So, all right, there you go. Termite coverage, I asked John Corners when I first arrived 5 years ago. He said this to me was that they did an original termite treatment on all the facilities when they were built. But as far as ongoing treatments and scheduled treatments, we've not done that. We've not scheduled to do that. So,
it's up to the individual homeowner.
was that not?
That's up to the individual
Yeah.
contractor.
I'm talking about the amenities that are here on site. So there was an original treatment of termite on all the facilities, but as ongoing treatments and inspections, no, we've budgeted, we didn't have that.
So one can presume that there are no annual inspections being performed on any of the amenities since that time, is that correct?
That's correct, from my understanding, yes.
Another instance, I guess, where maybe home says, if there's a problem, we'll fix it out of pocket.
Yes, I mean, as long as we can have that negotiation before you close, I'm just saying, don't rely on having that negotiation after you own the facilities, because the way the contract is written, if they were gonna take care of anything, it would be out of generosity and compassion for the community, not because they're contractually obligated to.
Okay. Did we finish any motions that are required on these items? Or what, we need to make a decision on this?
I think termite inspection would be a good thing for us to get off the list if we can. There's a relatively low dollar amount.
Personally, I want Massey out of it. And I'm worried about Florida test.
What was Massey's?
Massey was
25.
2,500.
Massey's,
Yeah.
and they've been in it, right?
They currently provide pest control for buildings.
I mean, it's better than
Pest control, not termite.
Correct.
I don't know, we should go always with the lowest. I have a,
This is an inspection.
yeah, I know, but
Well, the thing I'm thinking is that if Massey's been in here and doing pest control, if they haven't noticed termites, then they're gonna come back and say termite. They just have, I don't know, they can't imagine they haven't looked at them or seen them. So Massey's already seen the buildings. I think it would be a good idea to get a second opinion from someone who hasn't.
New eyes, okay.
I think we should verify whether or not there have been termites, because my understanding is that there possibly has been.
Yeah, the question is, who do we get to do that?
That's why I think it's best to have a second eye. Massey's been in here. I would assume that if they saw any kind of action, of termite action of any sort of these buildings, they would have advised the homes that we see termites. So obviously they haven't, I would assume that they're just not letting something go by. So they haven't seen the termites, so it would be good to get a second eye.
One would presume that if services had been rendered for termites, that those records should be on file somewhere, and they should actually be made available to us during this whole process. So that's something that we're going to look at.
Yes, it's one of the things that is included in the request for, environmental surveys and things of that nature.
And Kathy, I have a question. These are all reputable companies, correct?
Yes,
Okay. The specs or the requirements are the same for each and every one?
yes,
The lowest bidder is Massey.
yes.
It's a well-known company, capable, they understand the specifications.
Yeah, I think all three firms are capable.
Well, I would support the lowest bidder.
I sort of agree with Leah that a new set of eyes might be worthwhile also.
I think,
My understanding is that at one point in time, Sunrise did have the contract,
Yes.
and it was changed to Massey.
I think Massey's doing it for free now or something like that. That's what I heard
believe
from
they are.
Sunrise.
Yeah, out of the kindness of their heart.
Yeah.
Is that true?
They're what?
They're doing it for free?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Massey. I I know the company is one of the largest in Florida, well respected, and has been around a long time. I think, you know, I know in my evaluation, when I looked at some of the companies for that type of pest control, they were the top of the tier. So the fact that they're familiar with the facilities, if there was termite damage anywhere or something needed to be brought to our attention, we meet every other week with the ELM team. It would have been brought to our attention, we would have known that. Was there anything that you were aware of that you've ever seen or ever heard of? So again, you know, no one's pulling anything hidden here. I mean, we want to make sure these are done to your standards and your requirements. But again, we're talking about $1,000 difference between bringing a whole new company and letting them start all over, and someone that's been on the ground, boots on the ground for how long? Yeah.
Yeah, we had First Sunrise in here, to go to Jake's point, and we went out to bid on, and that's the reason why we made a change back in Massey. We had Massey, then we went to Sunrise and back to Massey. Massey, you guys gotta understand, there's all different departments in Massey. There's a pest control department, there's a termite department. Please understand, it's not the same person come out doing an inspection. It's a complete different department. It's a national company versus a mom and pop company, which Sunrise is and the other companies are. That's all I need to say.
Florida Pest is mom and pop.
Florida Pest and mom and pop.
Any reason why you didn't go with another national company?
I can solicit more bids, I thought.
I was just curious, because, you know, I don't know.
You know, I went with Sunrise because it was recommended it by someone at the last meeting and just grabbed that one.
They are mom and pop, you know.
I think, Bob, there's a dollar threshold that doesn't warrant going out for.
No, I was just thinking of another set of eyes, as we just said, you know, maybe an Orkin or something like that, I don't know.
I think at this point in time, we really just need a motion from somebody on the Poinciana board to approve one proposal and see if you have support.
I make the word. I have my house 11 years, 12 years. I use Sunrise. They come out, times when they call. I've never had a call come out for ants or anything because they come out, do their work, and the quarters that they do, and I've never had any problem. I don't know what Massey is, but this company knows how to do it. They just don't, I don't hit the button.
And I can understand why the other companies are more expensive, because they don't know the building. But to me, that's an advantage, because they'll take a closer look. They're not just gonna go through the buildings and see what they've been seeing, you know, how many years Nancy's been in here.
I think we're spending an awful lot of time on very relative minor issues, so I think I would ask my peers on the Poinciana board to take a poll of them, and we'll see if we agree and go forward.
I agree with you, Bill. I'll make a motion to use Massey for the termite inspection.
What's the price?
2,500.
$750 difference.
When there's a motion on the table, I need some Roberts here. There's a motion on the table, and it gets a second. You have to vote on it, or you can't?
No, yeah,
Do you have another motion that, no, I make a motion that so-and-so?
No, you're gonna have to vote on that motion, or that motion is gonna have to get withdrawn. You have a motion and a second, then you have an opportunity for discussion, and then you vote. And if the vote is 3-1, in favor, it passes. If it's 2-2, it fails. If it's 3-1, not in favor, it fails.
Well, then let me just ask Poinciana West.
Well, I've made my comment already. I think Massey can perform the job well.
How the rest of the supervisors?
I would go with Sunrise, but if the group wants to go with Massey, I'm fine.
I like Sunrise and see how they work. I don't have any problems.
I would
That's
go
my
with
house.
Sunrise. I do agree with the second set of eyes always treated there. So for $750.
Renegotiate.
What's the motion?
Well,
The motion was to use Massey.
yeah.
But have no second.
No second.
No second, yeah. I would like to see something from Orkin. They're a national company. And Sunrise is a mom and pop, they probably do a good job on houses. I'm not so sure how they are commercial.
Well, let record reflect, we had one motion, and there was not a second, so that motion fails at this point, and it's up to somebody else on the board, or the same board member, to make another motion on what you want us to do. And again, the staff will go ahead and incorporate whatever the pleasure of the board is. You just need to make a decision and let us know.
But question is do we want to get another party? I have no problem with Sunrise. I think they understand it. I have used them for many years. So I'm going to make a motion that we hire
I'll
Sunrise.
second the Sunrise motion.
Okay, all in favor of Sunrise?
Aye. What about you?
Opposed? Nay?
All right. Are there any other motions the Poinciana board wants to make for any of the proposals you've received for termites? And if not, then.
Yes, I'd like to see what, or another national, maybe, I don't know, what's the one up on, I-4 there, Nolan, I don't know, do they do?
So
Truly Nolan, I don't know.
staff will go back and get a proposal or two from a bigger company. We'll bring back to you in February.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Do we want to take a 5-minute break before we get into the assessment discussion? Because that may be a little longer.
No. Yes.
No? Okay. Stand in recess for 5 minutes?
Yes, we'll recess for 5 minutes.